Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and this video is a complete Wave accounting tutorial for beginners. I will show you everything that you need to know inside of the Wave accounting software, from adding and creating expenses, tracking your own bills for any purchases you make, using reconciliation to make sure your bank account matches up to what you have entered into Wave, how you can run payroll on Wave, and everything else that you need to know. This is Wave. And I just created a brand new account. So I will be starting at the same point as you if you have a brand new Wave account. And the first thing that I want to touch on is the dashboard that we get right here. So as soon as we load in, we are taken over to the dashboard. And over here, we can see the cash flow for the business. So we can switch this between the past 24 months, so the past 2 years, and the past 12 months. And in here, this is going to show us the cash flow. So a green bar will be how much cash we made for each month. And then the gray bar will be how much we spent. Then we can see the same for profit and loss. So we can see income and expenses. Going down, we can see payable and owing. So right here, we can see all of the invoices that we have out. So how much people owe us in the past 1 to 30 days, the past 31 to 60 days, and it's going to show them all right there. Then next to it, we can see the bills that we owe. So anything that we have had invoiced to us, any money that we owe out of the business, that is going to show right here. Then we have net income showing us the income and expenses on the year. And that is the dashboard view right there. Now over here on the left-hand side, this is where we can navigate around Wave. The sales and payment section is where we can set up all of the sales and invoices that we have made. So this is any money coming into the business. Purchases is going to be any expenses that we have. So any money that we have going out of the business, we can set up in this section. Receipts is going to allow us to scan receipts into Wave to keep track of them. Accounting is where we can see all of our transactions. We can see reconciliation and make sure that the data we have inputted into Wave matches up with what we see on our bank account. We then have banking, where we can connect our bank account to Wave. Payroll, where we can pay employees. And then down here, we have some reports and tax filing. So that is a brief overview of the dashboard right there. But let's now dive into the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes of Wave, and see what we can do with this. Now, the first section that we are going to talk about is sales and payments right here. So in here, this is where we can create estimates and invoices. We can add customers that we are providing services to. So let's go in here and create an estimate. In the estimate section, this is blank right now because we don't have any estimates, but when we start creating estimates, they will show up right here. To create a new estimate, we click on Create Estimate in this top right corner, and now we can go through and start filling out this estimate. Right here, we can add in the customer that we would like to create this estimate for, and because we don't have any customers added yet, we want to go right here to create a new customer. In here, we can enter in the customer's details, such as their name, phone number, and email. So let's say that this is John Smith right here. Then we can enter in the rest of the information. And you can really go in detail with this as you like. So we can set up a billing currency right here. Let's say this is going to be billed in US dollars. You can enter in their billing address. If you are shipping the item, you can then go in and fill out the shipping address as well, or you can keep this the same. And then once all of that is sorted, we can click on Save. Just like that, this customer is now created. And because we just created this new customer, they are also going to show up in this customers section. So I will just open this in a new tab. And if we open this up, you can see the customer that we just created is now going to show up under customers. So what this means is if I just go back to estimates and we delete this, and I go to create a new estimate, instead of having to type John's information every time, I have John right here. So especially if we have a lot of different customers, you might need to search them. But we can add them in, and that customer's information is now going to be added. We can then go through and add like an estimate number, the customer reference. We can set the date that this estimate was created. So we will set that to today. And then we can create a valid until. So when is this estimate valid until? Let's just set this to within 15 days. And that is set right there. Then we can go down and add in the item that we would like to invoice. And once again, because we don't have any items yet, we can create that item right here. And then just like the customers, this is going to save in products and services so that we can easily access it if this is an item or a product that we consistently sell. So for the name of this, let's just call this marketing services. Then we can enter a description as well. We can enter in the price of this. So let's say this is $3,500. And then we can click on Save. Just like that, this is now going to be added in, so we can see the item, we can see a description, the quantity, and all of that right there. If we want to add tax, we can also go into the tax section, create new tax right here, and we can start setting up sales tax. So tax is going to be country or state specific. So in the country, we have VAT. So once again, we'll just go VAT. We can add a description right there, enter in your tax number. And then in the UK, VAT is 20%. So we can add that there. Once that tax has been added, we can then go back right here and select that. And now the tax is going to be added to the service. We can then go down. If you want to create multiple products and services, you can add them in right there. And then we can scroll down. We can add notes here at the bottom. We can add attachments if you want to attach anything to the file. And most importantly, we can go save and continue. Take a look at how this estimate is going to look. And then once you are happy with this, we can approve this. And then once we are ready to send the estimate, we can just click on send and send it right there. So we can now see that this estimate has been sent. If we go back into the estimate section, we can see the estimate that we created right here, as well as the status, the date that this was created on, and everything that we just set up. Next, we can also create invoices. In the invoices section, this is going to work the same, where any invoices we created is shown right here. But we can go up and create an invoice. Now, you'll notice that this is a very similar layout, and this is what I like about Wave. Once you kind of understand the basics, it's very easy to use. So once again, we can create a new invoice. We can either select the same customer, or alternatively, we can go in and create a new customer. So we can fill in their information once again. We can create this, create the invoice number, the invoice date, when this is actually due. So let's say within 15 days. And then once again, we can go down. We can select the item that we just created. Or alternatively, we can go ahead and create a new product or service right here. Once you have created this, we can once again go save and continue, approve this draft, and then once again, send this to the person who this invoice is due to. A cool thing that we can do is when we have estimates, we can convert them into invoices. So rather than having to go through and creating an entirely new invoice to the estimate that I just created, I can instead go to estimates. I can see this estimate has been sent. And then when I need to send this as an invoice, I can just convert to invoice, go down, everything is already filled in. So I just save and continue. And then we can go ahead and send this person the invoice. You can also collect online payments rather than just sending invoices and getting paid or in cash or getting bank transferred. We can actually set this up so that we can collect payment through Wave. To do this, we come over to payment setup and then click on get started. And in here, we can now enter in some payment details that we will be using. So we just go through and enter in some information about the company. And then once this is set up and linked, what we will be able to do is if we create a new invoice, I will just use this one for example, we can go to online payments at the top, turn this on, and then people will be able to pay through the invoice that they received in their email. So it just speeds things up and makes things a lot easier if you do want to receive online payments. We can also set up recurring invoices on this left-hand side. So I'm not going to go into crazy detail with this because we basically set this up in the same way where we just create the invoice right here. And the only difference is that at the end here, when we go through to this next screen, we can set a schedule for when we want to send this recurring invoice out. So we can choose to repeat this invoice. If this is created on the 10th, then I want to go for the 10th of every month. Then we can go through, send this just like normal, and that's how we can set up recurring invoices. In the customer section, I've already kind of been through this. This is where we can see all of the customers that we have. And then if you want to create a new customer, but you don't want to immediately send them an invoice or an estimate, you can do so in here. So we just go to customers, add a customer, then we can fill out their information, and they will be added into the customer section. So it just makes it much easier when we are creating invoices or estimates to go in, select their name, and they are set up right there. Under purchases, this is where we can track and add all of the bills and outgoings that we have. So we can go to purchases and add a bill right here and go to the bill section. And then in here, we can click on create your first bill and we can track what we have been buying. So the vendor is who you owe money to or the company that you purchased from. We can go in here. And once again, if we click on add new vendor, then this will create a new vendor and we can add this in easily at any time. So let's add this in and just call this GeForce North. Then we can enter in the details for this company, go through, select the bill date, when the bill is due, the currency, and then in here, once again, we can add a new product that we have been buying. So let's say that this is, for example, Zoom. This is a tool that I use in my business. We can then choose the expense category right here. So this is going to be computer software. The price, let's say $15. I'm not entirely sure what Zoom costs, but we can add that in right there. Add a description, Zoom for business meetings. And then once again, we can add tax or anything that we need to add on. Click on save, and that is now going to be saved in the bills area. So we can see it right here. This is going to be saved as unpaid. So when we actually pay this bill, we just go into record a payment, select the payment method that we used. So I could go credit card, choose the amount, the payment date, the payment account, all of that good stuff. And then from here, we can click on save, and that's going to be updated to be paid. These next two sections are just vendors, where we can add vendors in and easily access them when we are creating new bills. And products and services, we can add the products and services that we buy. So once again, it just makes it easier when we add a new bill. In the receipt section, this is where we can scan in receipts, and usually this is with the mobile phone app. I don't think many people are going to be grabbing a receipt and holding it up to their laptop camera, and it just works a lot better on phone. Now in the receipts area, you do have to upgrade to the premium plan of Wave. If we click in, you do need to upgrade for this. But essentially, this is going to allow us to scan receipts and automatically track expenses. And as we can see here, basically all we do is take a photo or upload the receipt on the mobile device. And then Wave is going to scan that receipt and automatically take the information from that receipt and create a bookkeeping record. So if you do get receipts, it's a very handy tool to have. Under the accounting section, this is where we can go into transactions, and we can see all of the transactions that we have been making. So this is a payment that I have made. Let's also go back to the invoices section, and I will say that somebody paid off an invoice. So right here, we can go in and record a payment. Let's say this was paid off in full. So they paid via bank transfer. So they paid this off in full, and that payment is now recorded. And now if we go back to the transactions area, this is going to show up. So anytime you make money or anytime you spend money and you track it on Wave, it's going to show up in the transactions area. Under reconciliation, this is where we can basically see all of the transactions that we have made on Wave, and we can compare them to what the actual details are on our bank account. Now you do need to upgrade to do this because you need to connect your bank account, obviously. And if we go to connected accounts right here, we do need to upgrade in order to connect our accounts and be able to reconcile. But to jump into it, it essentially looks like this right here, where we can see the Wave balance that we have on that card. We can see the transaction that we created, as well as how much this cost. So you basically just eye this up, make sure this is the same. And then once you have matched that up, you make sure things make sense. You check that off, and that's how you can stay on top and know that what you are tracking on Wave actually matches up to your bank account. I often do this every 2 weeks to 1 month to make sure that everything is accurate. Because trust me, sometimes you enter things wrong and it can get a little bit messy if you don't keep up to date with this. This next section, we have payroll. So this is if you have any employees that you need to pay, you can set this all up within Wave. So we can go in here and click on get started. And we can set payroll up in just a few minutes. So all we would do is go through and set this up. So we add all of the employees that we have. So gather employee details. We go in and add all of the employees right here, their name, their home address, all of their information. Then we can enter in any contractors that we have used through the month. We enter in details about the business. We enter in the payment schedule. So how often we want to pay employees, we enter in right there. We can then add the bank account that will be used to pay these employees. And once we have that all set up, we essentially go preview payroll, and it's going to calculate it all up using the employee hours that you entered, how many contractors you used, and how much work they did, the tax for all of these regions. It's going to add all of that up right there. And this is a very helpful tool, especially if you do have employees. This is basically a must-use feature. Then from here, we can just go down to reports, and we can see reports on all of the information in Wave. So all of the accounting, we can take a look at a balance sheet right here. So from the data I've entered so far, this is the balance sheet. We can go back in, we can check out some of these other reports right here. So you can go through, see if there's any reports that you really like the look of and that you want to use, because these can be very helpful as well. Then these final two sections are essentially Wave advisors. So if you want to go through and get a Wave advisor, of course, this is going to cost, but you can click through, answer these questions, and then if you want to get a Wave advisor, you can. And then tax filing is kind of like an upsell for if you want more help with your tax filing. But overall, that is how we can use Wave. If I go back to the dashboard, you can see the dashboard is looking a lot clearer now that we've got some actual data in here. We can start seeing bits and pieces coming along. We can see like expense breakdowns, everything that I mentioned at the start of the video. We can see that all right there. So that is my complete Wave tutorial. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.